Okay. Oh my gosh. Can y'all hear me? Okay. Here we go. This is a special edition, and I'm trying to figure out all the settings on my camera right now. So, if y'all, my sister, my twin sister, came to my place the other day and she was fiddling around with my camera. And I can't for the life of me figure out why I look like I'm in a dream right now. So this is a special broadcast because I've been fiddling with the settings, trying to figure out why it looks so bright, why it looks like a soap opera, dream sequence or whatever. I'm not sure. I didn't even get a chance to put on my lipstick, you guys. This is how like crazy this evening has been. But hi, comma, welcome in. Hi. Oh, you're glowing. I'm glowing because my settings are doing weird things. Oh my gosh. And then y'all get this. I'm wearing like these like big like flowy pants or whatever. This intro is untraditional because I'm like laughing at myself. Like the comedic relief is there because I was running up the steps trying to make sure I was on time, y'all, because this is not my usual time slot. Y'all know this. Usually it is Wednesdays at 7 p.m. And today is Thursday and it is at 7 p.m. And so I'm running up the stairs, right? Like, okay, I'm gonna make it. And I trip on my own pants. Hi, Jonathan. Welcome in. Oh my gosh, you guys, thank you for shouting yourselves out live in the chat. Love to have you guys live. Love to see you guys when you comment after the fact. So, if you watch this later, I still see the comments and I will still acknowledge you. So there you go. But yes, I tripped up the stairs. I'm still adjusting to Invisalign. And get this, a couple of days ago, I had my book in the car. The book that we are reading for the Secure the Bag Book Club, let me get my intros out, is 10X is Easier Than 2X by Dan Sullivan and with Dr. Benjamin Hardy. And anyways, y'all, I had my book in my hot car while I was at work, because sometimes I like to read it while I'm on my lunch break. And anyways, the glue came undone on the spine. So now half my perfectly good book is disassembled. I can't even deal. If you're tuning in live, go ahead and shout yourself out in the chat. You guys, let's get into this book because right? So we have covered chapters according. If you've been like reading along with the reading plan that is on assetunderdog.com/events, then you know that we have covered chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, and now we're in 5. And then next week I'm calling an audible, and I'll explain why in just a bit. But we have covered quite a bit of ground. We've covered part 1, right, which was the 10X principles. And then part 2 is the 10X applications. You guys should have been, yes, the heat is crazy. That's the reason why my book is like disassembled. I don't know. But anyways, so we've been talking about this concept of going 10X, right? And this is going to be kind of a less of a page per page, play by play of chapter 5, and more of a collective like review of where we've journeyed in this book, right? So we start out in the beginning of the book, and it's like, all right, what is your 10X like aspiration? And I told you guys to keep that thought in mind. My thought was, okay, if I was going 10X with this whole Asset Underdog platform, where would I go next? Where would be my like 10X goal? My 10X goal was to get a book deal. I want a book deal. So the whole time that I've been reading this book for the like third time, is that I've been thinking about like how I can, get a book deal by doing things differently, right? And then in the whole combination of like trying to explain the difference between 2X thinking, right, which is linear, which is, kind of like step by step, waiting your turn, kind of just climbing bit by bit, right, taking one step in front of the other, right? Then you have 10X, which is exponential, which is like, nonlinear, which we're like, we're taking leaps. We're leaps of faith. We're pushing ourselves in a very focused way, right? So the whole concept of being 10X is being focused. You are focused to a fault, right? And sometimes those that focus can really intimidate people. Not only can it intimidate them, it makes them very uncomfortable, right? Who among us hasn't been in a situation where we're like, I think I'm gonna go for it. And whoever is, in your circle of, influence, trust, whatever, is like, slow your roll. I think you're getting too big for your britches, right? Whether it be a teacher. In the chat, let us know who is the person that you have in mind when you immediately think to yourself, that person wanted me to go 2x when I was really trying to go 10x, right? It could be, a coach that didn't start you in the game, right? It could be a teacher who thought weren't ready for or a guidance counselor who thought you weren't ready for an advanced class, right? And or it could have been a parent who was like, you think you're all that because you got that big job, like what, a friend even, it doesn't necessarily have to be an adversary is what I'm getting at, Kama says in the chat, coworkers, absolutely. Don't nobody else want you to be 10x quite like a coworker. Coworkers be haters. Kama says people love to tell you what could go wrong, especially at work. Absolutely. Or they like to tell you like what the rules say, right? What policy, says. And you really have to think to yourself, am I going to, buck the system and push myself further so that I can get much farther than I'm going? In the book, right, there's all these examples of everyone from Michelangelo, the artist and sculptor, right, who was like, I don't care if they say that it's against the law that I dig up bodies so that I can like look at cadavers and figure out how muscles should protrude in a sculpture or in a painting. It's the woman, I think her name was Linda or Barbara, something like that, I don't know, it was in like chapter like 1 or 2, anyways, and she's like going up the ranks in this real estate operation, and to the point where she's like building this empire, right? And she's getting people to she's rallying people under her vision, right? I think that's really what we need to park our perspective around 10x thinking, is that it is about vision. Do you have vision? And when I say to myself, I want a book deal, right? I have thousands of, 10,000, 100,000 followers, on any of the platforms. I mean, although shout out to y'all, all 150 subscribers, y'all are the realists. All of the 600 plus, I stopped counting over on TikTok, but 600 plus is where I last saw it on TikTok, or the subscribers to my newsletter, which you can sign up for. It is follow the links in my channel if you haven't subscribed to my newsletter, or if you are wondering what's going on in the world of Asset Underdog. There we go. That's my plug. But yes, what are you guys thinking? Kama says, yes, you've got to break up with the rules of the game. Yes, absolutely. Kama says her name was Linda. Yes, I thank you. I was gonna go back and look, but yes, Linda, the real estate agent who was like going crazy out in her market, trying to get this operation going. Or it's the guy that 10x his company. Later in the book, he talks about like how to this was in chapter 5. He's talking about how to create blocks of time in your schedule, right? And he's talking about the difference between a maker and a manager. And managers, they block their time like a manager would, right? Like, okay, this hour I'm doing this, or I'm meeting with this person, or I'm discussing this, or whatever. But they don't really have a lot of time allotted for like deep work, deep thinking, whereas makers, right? Creative people that are, coders, computer, and when you think about like, someone in IT and they're like, don't distract me, I'm trying to work on a problem here, that's a maker, right? And when you are a maker, you're really safeguarding your time such that you're experiencing a flow state, right? You're getting in the zone. That's what 10x requires of you when it comes to your time management. Absolutely. So what I want you guys to share in the chat next is I want you guys to reflect back on what you've been reading so far in the book. It could be any part of the book, and even if we haven't gotten to that part, but I really would love to for you guys to share what impactful lessons you guys are learning from the book that is really like making you reflect on how you're going about doing things these days, right? I remember, let me see, Kama, right? So she had the goal. I'm gonna pick on you a little bit, Kama. So she had the goal of increasing her net worth to by 100,000. Correct me if I'm wrong, but by 100,000 within the next 3 years, and we kind of workshopped a little bit where it was like, yes, okay, if that's possible, which it is, and when you do a 10x, hey Walt, welcome in. When you do 10x work, right, and you have a 10x aspiration, right, it is supposed to be scary. It is supposed to be outrageous. It is supposed to be, darn near impossible, right? So Kama has this idea that she's going to go 10x, right? Let's walk through some things, right? So if you're going to go 10x with your net worth, right? You're thinking not just how can I piecemeal small deposits, the bare minimum, right, into my savings account and calling that an effort. That's not a 10x effort, people, because that's linear. That is you inching forward, right? But when you think about a $100,000 jump, right? Starting where you are, right? Are you thinking about a product that you could sell or a service that you could provide? Is it, thinking about a platform that you could champion where in such you could charge for speaking gigs, right? Is it that you are, reading certain, like the type of things, your inputs, right? You're thinking about the music that you listen to. You're thinking about the books that you read. You think about the mentors that you seek out, right? When you think about growing your net worth, which I'm doing now because I started the vlogs on my channel, right? Where I was like, I'm going to increase my I'm going to get my net worth to 100,000 in 6 months. And you guys, I'm almost at the 6-month mark, and I'll give an update later about where I am. However, that, like, the decisions that I'm making, I'm thinking about, like, how do I decrease debt and my liabilities? How do I take some things off of my budget such that I can direct them towards investments? Do you see where I'm going with this? Is that 10x thinking is so much weightier, than just your average thinking, And so I want you guys to have the courage to push yourselves. That's what I think I want you guys to get out of this book. Kama says, I loved the quote from Seth Godin on page 83. The only way to be indispensable is to be different. Absolutely, Kama. Nothing happens until you commit. Page 71. Absolutely. So what are you committing to, guys? I want to know in the chat. These were the most impactful points. Kama, thank you so much for pulling those points out of the reading, because again, the whole book, taken in culmination, is a charge. That's the word I'm looking for. It is a charge towards better, right? And not everybody wants better. Not everybody wants better for you or for themselves, So I'm thinking that. Walt says, those extra reps, pushing yourself beyond what you're used to. Absolutely. And what scares you so much about doing those extra reps? I'm curious, right? Is it that when you do those extra reps, you're not sure if they're actually making a difference or making strides in what you're trying to aspire to? Is it that it's too painful? Is it that you're worried that you're going to get injured? You see where that analogy can take you? Where you're thinking, you're marinating on the hesitations that you have, Comment says, great word, charge to go forward. Absolutely, it is a charge. So if there's anything that I would take away from the reading thus far, it is that this author has full faith that you can do it, because he gives example after example of people who have done just that. And when you think about the people that you respect, right? The moguls, the business people, the celebrities and whatnot. Okay. Feel how you want about the Kardashians, but them girls go 10x. Okay. And I mean, I'm sure that it's not just them that is driving the engine, but if anything, they have all these, different, hats, and they wear these many hats and whatnot. And we respect people that wear many hats. We respect people that really go for it, that really push themselves, that really aim high, right? And when they achieve it, hello, which you will, because I have full faith that you asset underdogs that you are, can really push yourselves. Yes, he mentioned Mr. Beast's story as well. Yes, the YouTuber, Mr. Beast, who's like the most watched or most subscribed to YouTuber, right? And he has like a whole production studio behind him. He has like 100 employees underneath him at this point, but which I think he mentioned in the interview that he talked about. Yep, he wanted to be the #1 YouTuber in the world, and that's quite a charge. Absolutely. So what is your kind of crazy, who would think that little old me, can achieve that thing, So stick with me, people, because we're going places. Now, with the time that I have left with you all, I wanted to talk about, because the last chapter, I scheduled chapter 6 for next week. However, chapter 6 is more so for entrepreneurs, and it's it's more so for entrepreneurs or people who have employees that they need to direct, and people that they influence. So if you do have people underneath you, if you are a middle manager and stuff like that, then absolutely take a gander at chapter 6. However, I wanted to see if you guys would be interested in this book that I picked up. Okay, so I went to the library and I found this book. It's called The Misfit Economy, right? Here's the tagline: Lessons in Creativity from Pirates, Hackers, Gangsters, and Other Informal Entrepreneurs. You know how I came about this book? I came about this book because I was looking for a book about economics, right? Macroeconomics, micro, whatever, right? I was like, I need something to spark my interest about economics, right? Because I was like, this is the Secure the Bag book club, and we need to talk about the economy, right? There's 2 books. It was called, one book was In This Economy, which is kind of a big, hefty book, but seemed interesting. And then it was this book. And I was listening to this book, and I was like, now this is interesting, because it talks about gang leaders and other, kind of pirates and, all these people that are, kind of they're the misfits, right? They're the people that are taking the unconventional route, we'll say, to say the least. They're the bad boys, or girls, or right? They're the bad people, they're the people that people say, don't be like them, right? Don't do the wrong thing, do the right thing. Don't go to a life of crime, go on the straight and narrow. And anyways, I thought it would be a very interesting book to go through. So let me know in the chat, let me know in the comments later, if you guys want to do this for August. We will pick up the book, The Misfit Economy, if you guys are interested. So give me votes in the chat, and also give me votes with likes of this video, or also comments. The more engagement I get about this book, the more I'll be like, yes, let's do this book. Okay. So that is that on that. I like to keep these videos short. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're just at the 20-minute mark, but thank you so much for first of all telling me that I'm glowing. Thank you, Kama, for telling me I'm glowing. Even though I think it's the camera settings that are doing that. I'll figure out what I did, what my sister did wrong to my camera to make it so. I'm not a camera expert, anyways. The technology, whatever. But we made it through. You can see me. That's all that matters. I'm visible. But yes, give me all the, thank you so much for telling me I look great. So yes, give me your feedback about the book so far, the things that you're, realizing. If you're writing in your journal, you know what, I'm going 10x about XYZ thing, would love to cheer you on. Everyone else on the Secure the Bag Book Club would love to cheer you on as well. So go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know what you guys are thinking. And thank you so much for tuning in. And so next week, I will announce on a video. It won't be a broadcast, but it will be a video to announce if we are going to do this book or if we're going to do another book that I might find, come across and suggest that we do for the next video. But anywho, so thank you so much for tuning in. Have a good rest of your week. I will talk to you guys on the next video. And until then, tell the others. Make sure you tell the others. All right. Bye.